Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awaken Your Freedom Show. Please subscribe to support our growing community. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. Uh, this is a book that, well, for a lot of people, it's not just reading material. It's like a complete reset button. If you've ever felt like there's this, huge potential inside you, but maybe struggle to really tap into it consistently, then this deep dive is definitely for you. Our mission here is to kind of pull out the most critical, the most actionable insights from this really transformative book, give you a shortcut, basically, to understanding how to unleash that power that's, well, it's already there.
That's exactly it. And what we're going to talk about, it's not just motivational fluff or nice quotes. These are actual principles, things you can do to reshape your life. The whole idea is shifting focus away from external stuff you can't control.
Right. Circumstances.
Exactly. And turning towards that massive internal power you already have. It's about, grabbing the steering wheel yourself, not just being a passenger.
Okay, so let's unpack that foundational idea then. Tony Robbins says something pretty radical. Your life isn't mainly about what happens to you, but it's about what you decide about those things. He has that famous line, "It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped." And that really challenges a very human thing we do, right? Blaming outside stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Our past, the economy, bad luck, whatever. But this idea, it just strips that away. It demands like real personal responsibility. It's kind of powerful, maybe even a little unsettling.
It definitely can be unsettling because it takes away that victim story, which weirdly enough can sometimes feel comfortable. But what's really amazing here is how much power we actually wield in those small choice moments. Every single decision, even the tiny ones. It's like a steering wheel.
Steering wheel, I like that.
Yeah, it directs where you're going. So if you keep ending up somewhere you don't like, maybe it's time to look at the decisions, right? Time to grab that wheel.
Yeah.
Think about Oprah Winfrey. Her story is incredible. She faced just unbelievable stuff, abuse, poverty. But somewhere along the line, she made a decision, a real decision, to own her voice, own her story.
Not just survive it.
Exactly. And that one powerful choice, that pivot, it didn't just change her life. It changed media. It inspired millions.
That's such a perfect example of this in action.
Yeah.
It wasn't the terrible conditions dictating her future.
No.
It was her decision about those conditions, choosing a new path despite them. So as you're listening, maybe think about your own, steering wheel moments. Were there times a single choice, maybe it seemed small then, totally changed where you ended up? Really getting that you have this agency, this power, it can be a huge game changer. It's actually really free and puts the control back with you.
Precisely. And recognizing that agency, that's the essential first step if you want real lasting change.
Okay, now here's where it gets, for me anyway, really interesting. It challenges something we all kind of believe about change.
Yeah.
We usually think big transformation takes ages, right? It's this long, hard slog up a mountain.
Years of effort. The slow grind narrative.
Exactly. But Tony Robbins just flips that completely. He says the act of changing, that can happen in an instant. He says, change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation. That really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it's such a critical distinction to make. What takes the time isn't the change itself. It's getting ready for it. It's about building up enough motivation, finding enough emotional leverage. And often that emotional drive, it just trumps pure logic.
Emotional leverage.
Yeah, think about people who smoke for decades and then quit cold turkey. It's usually not because they suddenly understood the health risks. They knew those.
Right, they knew for years.
It's almost always triggered by something intensely emotional, like a loved one getting sick or dying from it. That becomes their absolute enough is enough moment.
That line in the sand.
Exactly. Where the pain of not changing finally becomes way bigger than the perceived pain of changing. Tony has this truth bomb. If you can suffer for 10 years, you can decide in 10 seconds.
Oof. That hits hard.
It does.
Yeah.
Because it shows how much capacity we have to endure suffering, sometimes unnecessarily.
Yeah, it exposes that hidden thing, doesn't it? We can cling to suffering sometimes, maybe because it's familiar, even if it's awful, like a weird comfort zone. So as you listen, think about a change you want in your life, one that feels kind of big or far off. What would your enough moment actually look like? What kind of emotional trigger, or maybe just a deep internal decision, would make you draw that line and say, nope, done. This changes right now.
Yeah.
About finding that emotional core, not just, weighing pros and cons logically.
It really is. Connecting with that deep emotional drive. Moving beyond just knowing to really committing in your gut.
And building on that idea of sudden shifts, Tony Robbins digs into why we often feel stuck. And it's not because you're fundamentally flawed or lazy.
Yeah.
It's more like you're running on, he calls them outdated mental software loops. Our behaviors, our feelings, even thoughts, they're often just automatic responses, triggered by these things called neuroassociations.
Neuroassociations. Sounds complex, but it's basically just your brain linking certain things with either pain or pleasure.
Okay.
Your brain is constantly trying to get you more pleasure and help you avoid pain. That's its job. But sometimes those old links, those associations, they don't serve you anymore.
They're outdated, like the software analogy.
Exactly. So connecting this to the big picture, understanding these patterns, it's like getting the admin password to your own internal operating system. And the breakthrough is realizing you can actually hack these loops. You can rewire them consciously.
Wow.
The strategy sounds simple, but it's super effective. You consciously link massive pain to the old habit you want to break.
Really feel the pain of staying the same.
Yes. And then you link intense pleasure to the new, empowering habit you want to build. This uses the brain's own wiring because the brain follows rewards. It's basically applied neuroplasticity. Your brain can change.
Wow, okay. That's huge when you think about it. Let's try a quick thought experiment then.
Yeah.
Say you hate waking up early, like you dread the alarm. Common one. Instead of just hitting snooze and feeling miserable, imagine actively linking getting up early to a really powerful, immediate reward. Maybe it's like a 10-minute victory playlist you only get to hear if you're up on time, or that amazing coffee you love, but savored in peace before everyone else is up.
Yeah, something you genuinely look forward to.
Right. Your brain starts chasing that reward, not dreading the alarm. You're kind of like tricking it in a good way.
Yeah.
So think about it for yourself. Can you identify one outdated loop in your life? A habit, a reaction you want gone, and then brainstorm what's a new, really compelling pleasure you could link to its opposite, starting right now to begin that rewiring.
It's all about making the new way so much more appealing that the old way just loses its power.
Which flows perfectly into this next really powerful mantra from Tony.
Yeah.
Turn your shoulds into musts.
Ah, yes. This is crucial.
And it's not just playing with words. He argues that goals, they often stay optional. They're things we should do. We know they're good. We aspire to them.
But the commitment isn't always rock solid.
Exactly. But when you really raise your standards, those things you should do, they become part of who you are, non-negotiable. It's not about trying anymore. It's about being the kind of person who just does that thing.
And that raises such an important question. Are you just trying to get somewhere, or are you actually becoming the person who is already there, who embodies it? There's a massive difference between a goal and a standard. A goal is out there, something you aim for. A standard is who you are right now.
Like Serena Williams, you mentioned her earlier.
Perfect example. She doesn't try to train hard. She must. It's not an option. It's fundamental to her identity as a champion athlete. That's a standard. It's an identity shift.
So it goes from, I want to write a book,
Which is a goal.
to I am a writer who writes every single day.
That's the standard. That's the identity. And the commitment level, the action you take, the results, they skyrocket from that shift. It's huge.
That identity shift, that's like the ultimate leverage point, isn't it? When something becomes who you are, it's just not up for debate anymore.
Right, it's automatic.
Like breathing, you just do it.
Yeah.
So for you listening, think about one should in your life, something you've maybe put off. You know you ought to do it, but haven't been consistent. What would it actually take to turn that into a must? How could you internalize it so deeply? It's not some external chore, but just part of your identity, non-optional.
It's that shift from outside desire to unwavering inside commitment.
Okay, let's talk about something we use constantly, often without thinking much about it. Language, words. Tony Robbins really hammers home the impact of language. He says words aren't just describing reality, they're actively constructing it. The words we use inside our heads and out loud literally build the world we experience.
And what's really wild here is how fast your nervous system reacts to the words you pick. This isn't just, think positive. It's actual neurology. For instance, if you say, I'm devastated about some setback.
Which we might do easily.
Right. Your emotional brain, the limbic system, it just goes into high alert, chaos mode. Triggers all sorts of negative physical feelings, stress hormones.
Like feel it in your body.
Totally. But if you consciously decide to reframe it, maybe say, okay, I'm a little off right now, or this is challenging, your nervous system literally calms down instantly. Or instead of I'm anxious, try I'm feeling anticipation. Just changing that one word shifts your whole physical and emotional response. It shows how much control we actually have through conscious word choice.
That is such a massive insight, and I think most people miss it entirely. We usually think our words just reflect feelings.
Right. Description after the fact.
But this shows they actually create and reinforce the feelings. So here's a challenge for you listening this week. Become like a detective of your own language. Notice your internal chatter, the words you use out loud, when you catch yourself using a really strong, negative, maybe disempowering word. Experiment. Swap it for something a bit softer, more neutral, maybe even empowering. And just notice how your emotional state shifts, even subtly. It's a tiny change in language, but it can have huge ripple effects on your whole day.
It really is about becoming the conscious architect of your internal story.
Right. And finally, Tony Robbins talks a lot about crafting a personal constitution, right? Like a life philosophy driven by a clear purpose, your guiding principles.
Yes, the why behind everything.
But, and this is a huge but, he emphasizes that even the most amazing vision or philosophy, it'll just fall apart without consistent rituals to anchor it. You need daily actions.
Absolutely. Ideas without action are just, well, ideas.
Right. They just float away.
If you think about it, rituals are the concrete things you do that make your desired identity, your philosophy, real. They're not abstract. They're the daily practice sessions for becoming the person you want to be.
They're the building blocks.
Exactly. Think about Kobe Bryant again and that Mamba mentality. It wasn't just a cool phrase. It was lived through his insane ritual of practicing multiple times a day, every day, starting way before anyone else.
That commitment was real because the rituals were real.
They weren't optional extras. They were the absolute foundation that made his identity as this relentless competitor completely undeniable.
That level of consistency, that's what separates people who just talk about changing from those who actually embody it. Tony even lays out a kind of formula for a daily ritual.
Yeah, his hour of power or similar concepts.
Right. Starting with some kind of movement to wake up your body, then asking yourself empowering questions to focus your mind, practicing gratitude, visualizing.
And crucially, breaking down big goals into actual massive action steps you can take today.
Yes, making it real. So for you, the listener, what's one small but meaningful ritual you could realistically start doing daily, starting today? Something consistent that would directly reinforce your own philosophy, the identity you're stepping into.
It's about weaving that big vision right into the fabric of your ordinary day, every single day.
So if we pull all these threads together, the big overarching theme from Awaken the Giant Within seems really clear. Your life experience is controlled by the meaning you give things.
That's the core.
And if you choose to change that meaning, you change your life. It's not about waiting for the world outside to change. It's about taking charge of your internal interpretation.
And just to hammer that point home, Tony is crystal clear. Emotion, not just logic, not just intellect, is the real force behind lasting change. If you want deep, enduring results, you have got to anchor those changes in your emotions, like in your gut, not just in your head. Logic tells you what to do.
But emotion makes you actually do it.
Precisely.
And one really empowering takeaway from all this is that idea that success leaves clues.
Right.
Tony teaches you can literally model anyone's success.
Yes, by studying them.
Yeah, if you really dig into their core beliefs, their strategies, and especially their consistent rituals, you don't have to figure it all out from scratch. Find someone who's got the results you want, understand their patterns inside and out, and adapt them.
And maybe the most liberating message of all from Awaken the Giant Within is this. You don't need to go searching for some magical power to change. It's already in you.
It's already there.
You just need to awaken it. Tony Robbins isn't really telling you what to do so much as he's reminding you of who you already are, the incredible capacity you already possess. Once you wake up that giant inside, man, very little can stop you.
So what does all this boil down to for you listening right now? Maybe consider this. What's one old pattern, one limiting belief you've been dragging around, maybe for years?
Yeah.
That you could decide right now to just destroy. How? By attaching massive immediate pain to keeping it and overwhelming incredible pleasure to its opposite today. To close, please don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Spotify to stay sharp and never miss a drop of knowledge that could change your financial life. Thank you.